Hi everyone, welcome back to Emma Bean's Joy of Knitting with Gigi. And I'm Gigi, and we're going to talk about all things knitting today. So, I don't know, let's get started. Welcome back. It's been a while. This is my, I don't know, knitting office, I guess. We've switched a little bit, and over here to my left is was the couch I normally sit on, but I kind of wanted you to see this little corner of my office here, and hopefully it'll give you a different view. Show you some other things that I have in my room. Anyway, it's been 2 weeks. And I am so excited because I've had lots of knitting that I've done. We've had a Lambtown festival. I've traveled a bit. I've had a great big birthday weekend. So I'll tell you all about it. So first of all, I want to talk to you about Lambtown. October 3rd, I flew out to Sacramento and drove down to Dixon, California, where they hold Lambtown. I believe they've been doing it now for 25 years. It was so much, I didn't really know what to expect. And I grew up in Southern California. I kind of know where other parts of California are. You know, I know where Bakersfield is. I know where San Francisco is, Eureka, all those other places. But I'd never heard of Dixon, didn't know where it was. It was such an amazing festival. They had so much there. They had tons of workshops. They had 2 buildings and an outbuilding of vendors. They had live music. They had food trucks, sheep, lots of sheep. So there were meat sheep, there were wool sheep, and then they had shearing demonstrations. They had sheep, you know, with the dogs. What is the word? Oh my gosh. Sheep herding. Gosh, senior moment. Senior herding. They had sheep herding demonstrations with the dogs, like the movie Babe, which was really cool. And they even had a sheep to shawl contest when they had teams that came in and they were given fleece that had been washed. And then the team was supposed to fluff the wool, card it, spin it, ply it, and then put it on a loom to weave it. And the only thing that could be done to the loom is you could just have the weft on it, and that was it. So it could be pre-lined with the threads for the wefting, and that's all. And then it had to be a certain width and a certain length. I think it was like 19 inches by 72 inches. And then you got judged on the ply, on the weft, on the spin, all of it. So interestingly, there was a high school team from Berkeley High School that was there, a young group of kids, and all the women were just talking about how exciting it was to have young people that were interested in this art and who were part of it. They learned to spin specifically for this contest. I don't know what the result was. I was vending with my friend Carmen, so I was in her booth almost the whole time, and I didn't get out that much to see a lot of the other things. I did have a moment. Marie and I walked the vendor halls and got to see the other vendors. We popped in, and I may have bought a new Swift, and it's sparkly, so maybe I'll show it to you. It's actually hooked right up here to the right of me. So let's see. After that, I came home on Sunday night. So I flew in Friday, stayed there Saturday, Sunday. Sunday night, I came home. Monday, got myself unpacked, did a whole bunch of laundry. And Tuesday morning, I headed out to Colorado, flew out to Colorado, see my daughter-in-law, my son, and my 2 grandsons. And I ended up going to, I don't know how many stores, and we bought a bunch of fall decorations, and I helped my daughter-in-law decorate her front yard for the holidays, for the fall and for Halloween in the fall. And it looked really cute. It was really nice looking. I'll put a picture of it up here somewhere. I don't know if I'm to the left or the right of the screen, but whatever. I'll just put it up. And you can see, so that was lovely. It was just fun to be with them. I went out with half of my carry-on suitcase full of boxes of Pokemon cards. So my second son and his wife collect Pokemon. They've been doing it for years. And now my grandsons are both into it. And so my oldest son, their father has bought some, I don't know, board game, Pokemon Battle or Battle Academy. I don't know what it's called, but they bought this and to teach him how to play the card game. So it's interesting. It's being passed on from generation to generation, which is kind of fun. So they were really excited because, man, they got a lot of cards. Anyway, I went out with the cards. I came back with 2 homemade loaves of sourdough bread. So I think I got the better end of the deal. So I got to bring homemade bread home. I will say TSA flagged it. I don't know. Yes, I'm a sourdough smuggler now, apparently. And I was worried they might take it, but I've never heard of them taking bread, so whatever. Anyway, let's see. What else happened after I got back? Oh, so that was, let's see, Tuesday and Wednesday. Wednesday, Mason, my youngest grandson, he's 4. He had his last t-ball game. If you've never ever seen 4-year-olds play t-ball, I would highly suggest it. It's comical. It was really fun to watch. Then after that, I flew home Thursday, and my husband has 2 best friends. They have known each other since they were 8 years old. They met when they were 8, and they grew up together and been best friends for, I don't know, 52 years. The 3 of them, my husband's name is Alex, so it's Alex and his 2 best friends, Matt and Daryl. And Matt and Daryl's wives came in. We spent the weekend celebrating their 60th birthdays. They all turned 60 within 3 weeks of each other. So Daryl's birthday was last Friday. My husband's is this Friday. And then Matt's is in 2 weeks. Crazy that we're that old. We just had the best time. We went to dinner. Lisa and I went to the Stevie Nicks concert on Saturday night. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. I love Stevie Nicks. I mean, she's second only to ABBA for me because I love ABBA, but I grew up on her music. I just loved it. It was amazing. We spent the whole weekend just running around doing really fun things with each other, spent lots of time reminiscing. So my husband and I've known my husband since I was 7 years old, and we grew up in the same town together, went to the same junior high, same high school. We didn't really interact much with each other, and it wasn't until college that we began to date. But it was interesting because when they talk about memories, childhood memories, my mother was best friends with Matt's mother. So I was over at the house all the time, saw the boys all the time. And it wasn't just the 3 of them. There were other kids always in and out of that house. They grew up with large families. I guess they had a really large family. Anyway, it was just a lot of fun. We just had a great time, and the last couple left late last night, which was Monday, so today's Tuesday, and I'm ready for talking about all this knitting stuff. So you know what? Let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about finished objects. I have one finished object. I am so proud of this. This is my first true lace project. I've done sweaters that had holes in them, yarn overs and stuff, but this is really lacy. So this is the Ishbel. I put up pre-blocking video on Instagram, and you may have seen that. I had a number of people say, why isn't it post blocked? Why can't I see post blocked? Because I was saving it for you guys. I wanted to show you first. I'll put something up on Instagram later, but isn't that just, I'm so in love with this. I'll even go a little closer so you can see. Yeah. there we are. I'm very, very proud of it, and I can hardly wait to wear it out somewhere nice. I'll probably wear it with black because I want to make this the star of the show. So that's my one finished object for right now. I will show you 4 whips, so let's move on to the whips. First whip, okay. So first whip is the Giordino sweater by Isabel Kramer. And I've made a little bit of progress on it, not a whole lot. Here, we'll go this way. And I can, there we go, show it a little bit closer. So this is what I've got going now. And I'm really happy with the color work. This, if you haven't seen it before, this is the spin cycle yarn that I'm using for it. So it's going to be very light and pale against the dark brown, which I really like. So I have that one. That one is in, here we go, project bag. This is my twice sheared sheep project bag. I always like to share where I get my project bags. I have lots and lots and lots, just like I have lots and lots of yarn. Kind of a project bag slut. Yeah, I said it. Okay. I guess, you know what? I'm not apologizing for any of that stuff. I'm sorry. Okay, next one. New project I cast on. This is, project bag is Botanical Yarns, and she was selling this at Flock. It is the Liberty 50th anniversary. It's called Carnival. I think it's Liberty of London fabric is what it is. Anyway, I am making the super simple summer sweater. Say that fast 3 times. Super simple summer sweater. This is by Joji Locatelli, and I saw the sweater actually fully knit up at Lamb and Kid on Bainbridge Island when I went to Flock, and it was in the exact color that I would knit for this person. I'm knitting this for my daughter-in-law, who happens to be a redhead, has great coloring for these colors. And let me pull these out here. So these are the colors that we are doing, the stripes. And this is as far as I got. I haven't had much. I started it when I was in Colorado, and then this weekend has been spent doing the other whip mostly. So, oh, by the way, look at those little stitch stoppers. Are those not adorable? I love these little guys. They are so cute. I have them on my website, emmabeanshop.com, and I have these stitch stoppers. Oh, and oh my gosh, I'm putting these up. So I got a bunch of progress keepers or stitch markers from the Littlest Charm Company, and I've got a bunch of like individual ones. I have, you know, they're all one of a kind, and I will get those up on my website. I have to have my daughter-in-law take the pictures so that we could get them up, but those are so cute, aren't they? And I did put, I put the, I don't know, the round clasp on them. So they're good for stitch markers, they're good for progress creepers, and they're great for crocheters too. So I like that because I want to be inclusive to all the arts here with that. Okay, let me put that one down. That is that whip. And we'll put that over here. Oh, I have this over here if I haven't shown you. So I ordered logo stitch markers from Katrinkles, and I have to show this to you. This is my Emma Bean logo, which isn't that the cutest? I love that. It's my little Emma Bean. Oh, sorry, there's a fly in here. He's a tiny little one, and he keeps flying around. Yeah, we won't edit that out because that's real life, and that stuff happens all the time. Okay, next whip. First of all, this project bag, my friend Carmen's daughter makes these, and they were selling them at the booth. She has them on her website, which I will put the link, it's a Dara fiber, in the notes down below in the description. So you'll see that. But what I love, oh my gosh, this is vintage velvet. And then she has a pocket here, and she has 2 pockets on the inside. And then these handles are made with commercial, they're commercial truck tie downs for truckers. And I love it because it's just a great juxtaposition to the fancy fabric, and they're super sturdy, and they're great to, they're never gonna break. And then she interfaces the whole project bag, so it's really sturdy. It's not floppy in any way, shape, or form. And I think I've bought 4 of them. One I gave to my daughter-in-law when I went to, because she's a crocheter. My daughter-in-law crochets. Anyway, here it is. Oh my gosh, I love this. Okay, so this is the progress on the new Norma. I've done the binding off on the top, and I did the neck. I always do the neck first before I bind off the bottom and before I do the sleeves. So when I get towards the bottom, then I will take a different, like a 16-inch circular, and I will pick up and do the neck, because that pulls everything up, and sometimes it'll pull the front up. And so I want to make sure that this lays and wears exactly the way I want it to. So I did try it on. I put some barber cord down in here to see how long I want to do. Did I want to, need to put another stripe in, or was I good to start the ribbing? And actually I was pretty good to start the ribbing. So I made the ribbing. It's a 3x1. I'll show that to you. It's a 3x1 ribbing, both on all the cuffs, the bottom, and the neck, which I thought it actually adds a really nice touch to it. Very boxy, very soft. I wish you could feel it. It is so light, this fat fluff that Carmen sells. It's a DK weight, and you only hold it with a single strand. So the sleeves, let me tell you how I do sleeves. Sleeves for me, I've tried shorties, I've tried magic loop method, and for me the best method is 2 circulars. So here's how I do it. I'm gonna switch this way so you can see I'm actually working on one, and I knit continental, so you can see how I do this. You only work, here we go. You only work on the needle that you've got. So this needle has all these back stitches on it. This one just hangs out. So right now I'm just doing the front one, and you never move it around. You just, let me get this all the way to the end here so you can see. And I actually really like it because I don't end up with ladders at all, because it will hang out on the cable itself, which makes the stitch smaller, because when you're going from one needle to the other, this gets pulled a little bit tighter, but it really ends up, I've never ever, and I can do socks this way too if I need to. I never ever end up with ladders, which has been, some people have a big issue with that. Okay, almost there. All right, so there. And then I just take it and pull it and let it hang out, and then we turn it. And then to do this side, you're just gonna grab the needle that has all of these stitches on it, and then you just pull it. And so it's easier for me than magic loop, just because I'm not pulling it all the way through and pull, the cable. I just use, this one, and then flip and use that one. And you always start at the underarm portion. So to put it on, it's like if it says pick up 80 stitches, you pick up 40 this way, and then you turn it and you go 40 down the other way. So you split it in half. So there we are. We're getting there. We're going to be finished soon. I'm really excited about that one. Now, I have to warn you. Let me put this down. Okay, I have to warn you right now. Wait. Oh, there it is. Okay. If you are doing Stephen West's Mystery Knit Along, or his Music Cow, as he's calling it, do not look at this, because this is a spoiler alert. I am going to show you my progress so far on this shawl. And you can actually see kind of right behind me, this right here was the first bit of it that I started with a different kit. I ordered my kit straight from him because if I was going to do it, I was going to do the whole experience. So I ordered 2 different colorways, and this is the green one. And then I'm a chicken. I have to say, this was outside my comfort zone. I don't really wear those colors regularly, and I retreated to safety. No shame in that. So here we are. Let me show you. Are we this way? Yep, we're this way. So I went with the blues and the browns. I'm a neutral girl. I like blues, I like pinks, tans, grays, you know. Every once in a while we'll do a pop of color, every once in a while. But here we have scallops, and now we're doing he's calling these squiggles. So this is different striping, and then with eyelets in between. Now these eyelets, I'll show you, that's mohair, and he's calling it the mohair dare. So if you want to do the mohair dare, you can use mohair in a space. The mohair that I got that came with this kit, it matches this brown. And I didn't want to do that because it wasn't a pop. And I wanted a little bit more of a pop of color. So I have this Knitting for Olive blue, which I love. I thought it looked great. But then I'm looking at it and I'm like, maybe I could do something that was a little more poppy of color. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to alternate the eyelets, because there's an eyelet in between each squiggle. And I think there's a total of 9. I think there's a total of 9 squiggles. So we should have maybe 7 or 8 of these. So I'm going to alternate it with this, which I think is just going to do a little teeny pop of color. It's kind of pinky, but this tan in here has a little pink of an undertone to it. And I can show you on the back side, because you can see on the back side this, the brioche part, that's color C that I'm using. And it does look tan, but it really does kind of have a pink undertone. So I think I'm going to use that and just alternate the stripes, because why not? Look, Stephen West and some of the colors that I've seen on the spoiler alerts, there's like some crazy colors in there, and people just mix all kinds, and they look fabulous. So, you know, I'm just gonna go with it. I'm gonna have a good time with it. Okay, that's all my whips. Okay. When you're a beginner, there are words, lingo, that knitters use that sometimes I think are confusing. Like, we don't know what it means. And when you hear somebody say that, you're like, what does that mean? What are they talking about? So I want to talk a little bit about that. The first thing, I'm guessing, because you're a beginner already, you know what casting on means, which means to get your yarn and your needles, and you use a method to get stitches onto your needles so that you can begin to knit. So casting on is the basic beginner part. Then we have casting off, and casting off is basically the opposite. It's a way of getting your stitches off the needles so your project can be finished, it doesn't unravel, and it looks great. And so when we have casting off. Other one is WIPs. So I've talked about WIPs. WIPs is just an acronym for work in progress. And we talk about, it's so funny because work in progress is just anything that's on your needles that you're working on that's not finished. But then we have FOs, finished objects. Now here's where it gets a little weird to me. So I have projects. I work on my projects. They're whips, whatever. And yet it's not a finished project. It's a finished object. So I don't know who in the knitting world decided that that's the way it was going to be, and we were going to call our finished projects finished objects. That's okay. It's a finished project, but they call them FOs. So we'll go with that. That's what an FO is. And then we have swatches. Now, a lot of people don't swatch unless you are knitting a garment that you're going to wear that needs to fit properly. So for instance, shawls, you don't usually need to swatch unless, and I will say there is a caveat, like Stephen West wanted you to swatch because he's using pretty much all the yarn. And if you're off your gauge, which we'll talk about in a minute, if you're off your gauge, then you're going to either use too much yarn, you'll play yarn chicken and run out, or you'll have plenty left over, which will be fine. But again, the shawl will be smaller because you didn't make it as big as it needed to be because of the gauge. So swatching is really important. Swatching is generally in a pattern. They tell you to, more often than not, knit and stockinette stitch, which is basically you knit the front side, you turn it over, you purl the back side. I will say that Patty Lyons and a number of master knitters that I have heard from and talked to all say that when you swatch, do not put a garter edge around the swatch because it throws your gauge off. You just knit it the way it should be. Just knit the front, purl the back. And you should do a minimum of 4 inch by 4 inch. I generally tend, if they're asking for like 24 stitches per 4 inch is you're supposed to be your gauge, I will cast on 36. So I get more, so I can measure in different places on the swatch in order to make sure that it's fairly consistent. Because tension is interesting when you're angry or when you're upset, you tend to tense up, and that shows in your knitting, which will be tighter. If you're really relaxed, sometimes you'll end up with looser gauge. It's kind of inconsistent. Hopefully, as we become more experienced as knitters, hopefully what happens is we end up with fairly consistent tension and fairly consistent stitch gauge. Now we talk about gauge. Gauge is just the number of stitches that you have in a given linear line, like 1 inch or 4 inch. So we measure along a 4 inch point because we can be inconsistent with our tension. So if you measure just 1 inch, you can't always trust that. But if you measure in 2 different spots, a 4 inch, and you're getting the same on over 4 inches, it's safe to say, okay, my gauge is fairly consistent and I know what I'm getting. And then people will tell you, you either have to go up a needle or down a needle, or you're perfect or whatever. And we can talk about that later in another section of this. In fact, I think I'm going to be doing some shorts and maybe some TikTok videos where we can discuss this in like 10-minute increments, so that we just talk about how important it is to do these things and learn different aspects of knitting so that you feel more comfortable and confident in being better. One of the things that happened to me when I was a fairly new knitter, I'd been knitting a couple of years, but I was mostly self-taught. And one of the things that happened was I went into a knit store in California, and I was just knitting, and then I went to purl, and they started laughing at me. And I said, like, what's wrong? And they said, well, you don't. Oh, actually, I think they were laughing at me when I was knitting too. And they said, you don't knit right. You're knitting wrong. And I thought, well, what does that mean? So they were a group of all English style knitters, and this was pre-YouTube. So nobody really understood that everybody knits differently, or more often than not. Even throwers, when I see throwers throw, they don't all do it the same. Even continental. My friend Maria, I was looking at her at Lambtown and she was knitting. I said, "What are you doing?" She says, "I'm just knitting." And I said, "Well, slow down." And I was watching how she did it. She hardly even moves her finger that holds the yarn. And I'm like, wow, since I always do this little flicking motion. Anyway, truth be told, as long as your stitches look the way they're supposed to look, they're not twisted, they're not going backwards onto the needle, or when you're going back the other way, you don't correct it, which is fine. If it sits backwards, a lot of people will purl differently, but it switches the direction in which the legs of the stitch go on the needle. So that said, it's all okay as long as it ends up looking right in the end. So don't ever feel bad. There are a lot of different experiences that people have with knitting. I don't want anybody to have a negative experience with knitting, because you should just gain confidence more and more with everything that you do, and everything that you knit should make you feel good. Now, with that said, I am more of a process knitter than a project knitter. A lot of time I do get to a point where I just want to see the project done. So I don't knit up something and then go, "Oh, I hate it," and then just take it all out, which leads me to my next, frogging. Frogging means to rip everything out, or rip it back substantially to a certain section. Let's say you messed up 20 rows down and you don't know how to fix it, so you're just going to frog. And the reason they call it frogging, because you're ripping it. So rip it sounds like ribbit, which is what a frog says. And that's why they call it frogging. On the other hand, you can also tink. If you only have 1 or 2 rows to go back, it is tedious. It takes time, but you can do it. Tink is just reverse knitting. So it's knit spelled backwards, and you're just sticking your needle, you're going from your left needle back onto your right needle, and you're moving the stitches back on, but unknitting what you knit, so you can get back to where you were, or where you made your mistake, or whatever happened. Tinking happens a lot in my world. I tink, I'll find something, go, I forgot that yarn over, whatever. So that's what tinking is, if anybody talks about that. I think we've talked about most everything. If there's something that you've heard that you don't know about, or you're confused about, just put it in the comments below. I'm still at the point where I can answer everybody. So don't worry about it. Put it in the comments below. If you have any suggestions for shorts later for beginner to better, something you'd like to hear about. I actually am going to do a longer form video. One of you asked for a honest review on thread and maple products. Those are my leather organizers. I actually have quite a few of their products. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to do an honest review of that, because nobody pays me for anything. So might as well just tell you the truth and let you know whether it's worth your time or your hard-earned money or not. Okay. So we're done with beginner to better. Let's go on to acquisitions. First off, I have to show you, I have some yarn in my hand. So I did go to Lambtown, and I was able to sneak over to a couple of booths. But this one is Girl with a Hook. And these are their earrings, and they are crocheted. They have crochet on them, and they have all different colors. I think Carmen got these really big ones with this bright pink. It was so cute. So cute. Looked great on her. Speaking of, let's see. I'm going to do this one first. Mary. Hi, Mary. Mary follows me, and her daughter had a booth there. It's called the Happy Mermaid Yarn Company. I will put links to all of this down in the show notes, down in the description. So this was Happy Mermaid Company's Lambtown 2025 special colorway, and that's what it's called. This is 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. It's a 2-ply. And this is a 2-ply also. This is called crow feathers. So I put these two together, and I will probably do some kind of shawl or scarf with this. I think this would be great in a mosaic scarf. And then I got Carmen. Now Carmen, when we went to Flock, she was knitting with these. So this is her 2-ply. This one is called Poison Arrow. Look at that. Oh, wait, you got to see this part. Oh my gosh. Look at all of those wonderful speckles. And then this one is called Hot Socks, S-O-X. And she put these two together, and she was knitting Isabel Creamer's Bonnie and Clyde scarves. So you get 2 scarf patterns in one, and she knit both of them, and they came out so cute. I just loved them. So I want to do them. I think I'm going to do them a little bit bigger. I'll just keep going, you know, because you know with scarves, I mean, the little ties, they were little like neckerchiefs. Anyway, they were adorable. And I love this colorway. So I was kind of obsessed with it ever since she did it. And everybody who came by the booth just loved this. So that's the acquisitions that I got, plus the project bag that I showed you that Carmen's daughter makes. So that's what we've done. That's what I've done. I think that's about it for this week. It's been 2 weeks. I will be back on in 2 more weeks. I might put up another video in a week, but I'm looking at the new Ravelry offerings for September and October, all the new patterns that have come out. One of the things I found about Ravelry is you can't search based on, I don't think. If you can, let me know. I can't find out how to search for a pattern based on when it was released. Like if I want to see September 2025, everything that was released, I don't know if that they have a search option in that, or if that's an offering. So I figured what I would do is show you what's come out in September and October, all the offerings that we've had, so that you can maybe get some inspiration for some winter knitting. There have been some really, really great patterns that have been released, and I'm really excited about those. So with that said, I hope you have wonderful 2 weeks. Knit to your heart's desire. Put your joy in every single stitch, and we'll see you back here next time. Thanks for coming by. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you like this, and tell your friends about it. And don't forget to comment. I loved your comments. Everybody was so nice and so kind. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you for being my community. You guys are awesome. Take care, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.